me see here. We're going to be talking about life storms, and our passage today is going to be out of Isaiah, chapter 25, verse 4. In case you guys are wondering why I'm wearing the hat all the time now, is because people keep saying it shows up on the camera. It looks like I'm light bulb.
That's not bad.
So, kind of cut the glare down on me. It would need to be look like talking to a silhouette, giving everybody a chance to find the verse they need. It says, when you have been a refuge for the poor, a refuge for the needy in their distress, a shelter from the storm. Now, we're all pretty familiar with storms, right? You know, some of us are, we've, like we had Hurricane Katrina and Tropical Storm, or Hurricane Sandy. And of course, we can't forget our wonderful sandstorms we get out here in the desert. My windshield of my wife's car looks horrible because of it. You know, storms, some will last minutes, and some will last hours, days, or maybe even weeks. God forbid for that for our life storms. But whatever your storm in life is, you know, what it's like, God can give us refuge, shelter. He's a fortress, a rock. I mean, you've seen all these descriptions of God. They have God in a storm. Something pretty good and solid, right? At least it's not a tent. I mean, I used to do a lot of mountaineering and backpacking. Bless you. But, you know, it's that tent, of course, could be a good shelter. Some of the tents they make now has the rain covers to them. Must be bad. Somebody's allergic to my sermons, I guess. You know, they have you know, you got these things. I took my brother-in-law when he was about, I guess, 12? Something like that, 12 or 13, on a camping trip. Up in the mountains, we went backpacking up there, and this weather was nice. And you get, you know, storms can hit real suddenly. They tell you when you're mountaineering, go prepared for anything, even if it's for a day hike. And we were up there, we got the tent, we didn't set up and all that. He wanted to take a nap. It went from a kind of a cool day to snowy within a matter of 10 minutes. He thought he hibernated through the summertime or something because he woke up and there's snow all over the ground. Now, it shows how fast a regular physical storm out here can hit. Our spiritual storms can hit just as quick. They can last real brief, or it could be for a while. But you look at but you know, if you ever notice the landscape though, and God's promises here, God's word, if you ever look at the landscape after it rains, there's a kind of see these nice little green things popping up. A lot of them I know out in my house are weeds. I get tumbleweeds like crazy out there. I think I got the biggest tumbleweed farm out in Hinckley. But anyways, this is new growth. That's God providing new growth. The same thing with the storms in our life too. We're going to go through a storm, but He's going to give us some new growth, some restoration. You know, without God and His Word, you know, or His Word, it's going to be impossible for that spiritual restoration, wouldn't it? But what does these storms do? I mean, other than kind of wreak havoc temporarily on our lives. I mean, I think everybody's safe to say everybody's been through a storm in their life, right? Spiritual storm of some sort. Well, first off, what these storms do is they're going to show us who we really are. They're going to introduce us to who we really are. They're going to reveal our courage. They're going to reveal our faith. They're going to reveal our integrity when we go through them. You know, some people look fantastic before a storm, you know. They're out there going out in the town, you know. Betty Sue's got her makeup on just nice and the mink stole going. When that rainstorm hits, now she looks like something from the zombie apocalypse because her makeup's all running down. That mink stole smells like a wet dog. You know how it first smells like when it gets wet. Ugh. Nasty smell, isn't it? That's just what happens with our spiritual lives. A lot of times we don't look too good after a storm. It looks just, you know, some people look like they comb their hair with a mixer when they get out of the storm. You know, our spiritual walk it's the same way with our spiritual walk with God. I mean, it's easy when things are going great, isn't it? We can just be happy, kick up our heels, and just dance around. When that storm hits, well, now we're going to get, you know, the way revealed. We have to find out how we're going to walk. Are we going to still walk with God, take refuge in Him? Or are we going to try to handle it on our own? There's nothing like being stuck in a storm. Storms will take us places too. They're going to take us places we've never been before. It's going to, you know, you look at, like for Noah, it took him to Mount Ararat. He didn't know where Mount Ararat was until the flood.
Ararat.
Ararat. Ararat or Ararat. It's close enough, okay? Give a senior citizen a break. As long as it's remotely within the area, I'm all right. What about the storm for the disciples? It took him to Gadara, I believe is how it's pronounced. You know, these storms are going to take us to places where God calls us to go to. Doing what we did, you know, we went through a storm with a previous church we were with. And dealing with family. It brought us over to here. That storm that we went through brought us here to Grandview Baptist. And little did I know I was going to be serve as a pastor. And it's like, oh, okay, okay, God, what other surprises you got for me? Because, you know, but you know, if you ever noticed in a storm, like even a sandstorm, you know, or even like in the ocean, you'll see stuff wash up on the beach after a storm. Stuff that's covered up in the ocean, that storm churned all that up and brought it on there. It's kind of like a big treasure hunt. I mean, am I right? The storm dislodged it. Now we got, kind of like does it with us. He's going to dislodge little treasures in our life. God's dislodging some treasures. Our abilities, some hidden abilities. Also, storms are going to reset our priorities too, won't they? I mean, when you're getting a pretty hefty storm, first thing you do is you're going to start resetting your priorities. We have priorities in our lives anyways. And we take them for granted a lot of times, don't we? I mean, oh yeah, it's not until a storm starts that we start taking inventory. and find out what's really important. If we look at 9/11, for example, it's a good example. After 9/11, that following Sunday, they had, I think church attendance has been the highest in history. It took a massive storm like that to bring people into church. I think it just kind of faded away after that, but that's church attendance for you. It goes, seesaw. There's all kinds of things that can bring people. There's people that will, usually if they get a big hefty problem in their life, big spiritual storm hits, then they're usually in church quite a bit until the storm subsides. Then they're backing out. But it's our job is to encourage these folks to stay in there. They say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. But it's our job not to make them drink. It's actually to make them thirsty. Well, here's the good news. The storms don't last, do they? It's not like that big flood. I mean, there's, some storms, they're not going to last. They're not going to last because, well, the enemy's not all that, is he? But God is all that.
Yep.
He will take. He's the one that's, when you look at 1 Corinthians chapter 10, I'm going to read this out of this is out of the Message Bible. This is kind of a neat way of putting it. I like it. It's the same thing, but it's just putting it really good. Test or temptation that comes your way is beyond the course of what others have faced. All you need to remember is that God will never let you down. He will never let you be pushed beyond your limits. He'll always be there to help you come through it. At the end of every storm, the clouds are going to disappear, okay? And the sun shines. Not S-U-N. S-O-N. The sun. Not the sun out here, but the Son of God is going to shine. We think some of our storms aren't ever going to end our problems. But it is nice to know that there is an end to it, and we just got to bear with it. And good example is some of our windstorms we get out here. One day of wind, I think I could put up with that. I think a lot of us can deal with that, right? There was that time we had, about a week of it straight?
Yeah.
And that was starting to wear on my nerves.
Yeah, mine too.
Everybody is, it gets on your nerves horribly bad. But we got to look at, hey, it's not going to last. You think it might, but it's not going to. God's going to give you the way through this storm. He's going to be like your GPS. If you ever flown on an airline, when they take off, they're going through a storm, a dark cloud, or like that. They're using what they call IFR, Instrument Flight Rule, to get through that storm, get through that thing to come up above those clouds. Rise up above that storm. Kind of like God's doing with us. He's given us the instrumentation to fly and get us above that storm, out of the way. Get us through it. Navigate it. Out at sea is another thing that's really good when you get swells going up and down. It's really hard to get your bearings out there because nothing around you. But here's one thing about storms too. They're not there are internal and external storms. Some of our external storms, like our marital issue, or our, some of our issues outside the thing. But there are some storms that we have an internal thing. Jonah's internal storm for Jonah was a stubbornness and an arrogance to not do what God told him to do. What about the disciples when they're on that boat out there, tossing around, flinging all over the place? Their internal storm was their fear and anxiety. A lot of us are going to have an internal storm. We all have internal storms. Some of us are stubborn. Some of us have anger issues. Some people suffer from depression. That's another internal storm to deal with. It's just overwhelming, overwhelmed. But once again, God gives us these refuge. He gives us a means to get through these, whether it be through counselors, and even, I'm not saying people that's going through depression or anything like that should not seek a counselor, should just go straight to God. God's actually anointed a lot of counselors to help people through situations. Find a good godly counselor to help you through a storm. And last but not least, did I put, I don't know, Joanna, you can't outrun a storm. I don't care how fast you are, you can't outrun a storm. Usain Bolt can't outrun a storm. We can't outrun them, but we can prepare for them. So I get back to the one with the camping business. You prepare. You get in there, get your rain gear. You're going to go out, you'd have an idea, you look at your weather forecast. Okay, it's going to probably rain. I'm going to take an umbrella or a rain jacket. Then there's people that will ignore it. And, well, now they're going to feel like jacking you for that rain jacket or the umbrella because they weren't prepared. We can be prepared for storms. When you get the storm, you draw on past experiences where God saw you through the storm. I do that quite a bit too. Okay, God got me through this one. I don't see why He can't get me through the next one. Hold on to your values is another thing to do. I don't know, Joanna. Okay, yeah, Trump. I forgot how I put that. Hold on to your values. We gotta hold your values. Don't go. Your integrity, hold on to your integrity you have. Do something. Do the same thing you always do. Don't do something crazy just because you got a bad storm in your life, like stealing or some crazy stuff like that. There's people that using bad experience for their bad choices. Got to find other people who went through the same storm. Now, if you're going through a marital storm, don't be going to people that have been divorced 3 times. I don't think that would be very wise counsel, would it? That is not. I mean, I've worked with a guy trying to give me some financial advice one time. This guy had 3 cars repoed from him already. So I'm thinking, yeah, your advice holds about as much water as a tea strainer. So you got to be careful who you kind of seek help through. You got to watch who you go to for your advice on it. Somebody's been through the same storm and went through it successfully. Best of all, stay close to Jesus. What do children do usually when there's lightning or something like that? When they're with their parent, they're gonna go right to that parent, won't they? Just grab onto their arm or leg or something. I mean, children will do that, right? You know what? Jesus wants us to do that when we get in an ugly storm. He wants us to grab hold of His hand, stay close to Him. He'll tuck us right in there and keep us from anything from happening to us. Don't wait for a storm to get close to Jesus, so stay close to Him. Is the best advice to it. Stay close to Jesus. Don't wait for the storm to try to seek Him out and run like crazy. I love it when I see people do that, when you get a sudden rainstorm and you're seeing people run like crazy to get into shelter because they just weren't prepared. Be prepared. Stay close to Jesus. With that, Robert's going to be leading us in our invitation.